Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay Police are investigating the city's 11th homicide of the year.
A man has died from injuries sustained in an apparent assault on the city's north side over the weekend. First responders were dispatched to the Andrus Court apartment complex on South Cumberland Street around 1:15 Saturday morning, following reports of an injured male. The victim, a 28-year-old man from Ajax, Ontario, was transported to the regional hospital but was later pronounced deceased. Members of the Major Crimes and Forensic Identification Units are now involved in the murder investigation. City police say they won't comment on the case until tomorrow. The 11 murders this year matches the record high for the city set back in 2014.
Meanwhile, details are now coming to light about a second arrest in connection to the city's first homicide of the year back in January. The fatal assault occurred on January 26 at a home on Bethune Street. Police responded to a call about a sudden death and found the body of 37-year-old Antoine Bouchard. A little over 2 months later, City Police charged 28-year-old Joshua David LeBlanc of Kingston with second-degree murder. Then late last month, police charged a second man, 30-year-old Alan Andrew Post, with manslaughter in relation to Bouchard's death. Post was arrested in Kingston and transferred to Thunder Bay.
The search for a missing Thunder Bay woman in the Fowler Township area has come to a tragic end. OPP confirmed today that the body of 41-year-old Caitlin Restall was found along the Cam River off Silver Falls Road. This missing persons alert was issued by OPP after Restall failed to return home after a soccer team party near Hawkeye Lake on Saturday night. Police and volunteers carried out a search for the woman on Sunday with assistance from a helicopter. Then this morning, OPP found evidence of a vehicle collision about 11 kilometers up Silver Falls Road. The victim was found on the riverbank, and police believe her vehicle is somewhere in the river. Silver Falls Road was closed throughout the day while officers conducted their investigation. Anyone with information is asked to contact the OPP.
For the second time in the past 2 months, an inmate has died at the Thunder Bay District Jail. The Ministry of the Solicitor General has confirmed that a male prisoner was found in medical distress on Sunday morning. Paramedics were called in and pronounced the man dead at the facility. A ministry spokesperson says no other details can be provided because the death is still being investigated. Several inquiries are mandated when a death occurs inside an Ontario jail. The chief coroner is responsible for determining the cause and manner of death, while the ministry conducts an internal probe to determine whether all policies and procedures were followed with respect to the care and custody of the deceased. And in cases where a death is not due to natural causes, an inquest is required to examine the circumstances and manner of the death.
Students and staff at St. Patrick High School were evacuated after classes ended this afternoon after a threat was made against the school. Catholic board officials say they received information about a, quote, low-level threat. Police were called to the scene. They've now deemed the school to be safe and classes will go ahead as scheduled tomorrow. Anyone with information is asked to contact Thunder Bay Police or Crime Stoppers.
With the municipal election now less than a month away, tonight we begin profiling the candidates who've put their name forward for Thunder Bay City Council, beginning with those vying for the mayor's chair. We're starting off with this look at Ken Boschkoff, who's attempting a political comeback. Vasilios Bellos reports.
Ken Boschkoff is no stranger to politics, serving 2 terms as mayor between 1997 and 2003, and 7 more as a city councilor. He also spent 2 terms as the MP for Thunder Bay Rainy River. Boschkoff was also elected president of 3 municipal organizations, including the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the Ontario Roads Association, and the Northwestern Ontario Municipal Association. Boschkoff has spent some time away from politics and explains why he decided to throw his hat back in the ring this time around.
Over the summer, many people approached me on a very consistent and constant basis that they needed a candidate who had some leadership skills, who had a proven track record, and who could take the job at a run. So I acquiesced and accepted the challenge, and I think that the support from the community has been amazing.
With so many concerns on the minds of voters heading into the election, what is Boschkoff's main focus?
I want to change the channel on the city's image because I believe in our community. I think we're a great place in which to live. And so we'll tackle that as an overall theme, and everything else falls into place in terms of getting our finances in order, ensuring we could do some of these projects that people are important to people and to our youth.
And why does Ken Boschko believe he deserves the voters' trust in the race for mayor in this municipal election over the other 4 people running?
Without having training on council or having done those kinds of things, people would be in a really rough spot. The learning curve is too steep. So you have to have someone who could actually take this job at a run, understanding the rules, knowing who to contact, and understanding the processes and operational mechanisms. And I'm quite skilled in all that, if you don't mind me saying, and I'm ready to do it now.
Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
And we'll continue our mayoral profiles tomorrow with a look at first-time candidate Clint Harris.
A city road project on the street leading up to Fort William Stadium and Delaney Arena has led to complaints from football and hockey teams and the players' families. Construction on Legion Track Drive began later than planned, creating traffic disruptions at a busy time of year. The $1.2 million project was supposed to start in July, but city project engineer Matthew Miedema says construction was delayed due to a few factors, including the schedules of multiple contractors involved and problems bringing the materials in on time. He says there are a few more days of underground pipe work to finish. Then crews will move on to final restoration, landscaping and paving, and the creation of a new pedestrian walkway on the opposite side of the arena. Miedema expects construction to be fully done by the end of October. He acknowledges he has heard concerns from the public about the timing of the project.
So there's access off Victoria Avenue right now to the parking lot, or off Brunswick and behind to the gravel parking lot there. So we'll work with the contract much as possible to maintain access to the parking areas and keep people in and out as safely as possible. But there will be some delays as these lanes are restricted, so be patient as you try and leave and come and go from the rink.
The booster that targets the Omicron variant is now available to all adults in Ontario. The province is also opening appointments for Pfizer's new pediatric vaccine for children between 6 months and 5 years old. Beth McDonnell has the details.
Appointments through Ontario's booking system are now open for all adults to receive the bivalent vaccine, helping protect against the original COVID-19 strain and Omicron.
I think we need everyone to have this COVID vaccine, especially nowadays. It's getting cold.
Toronto Public Health says clinical trial results showed the bivalent booster generated a good immune response against BA1, BA4, and 5 subvariants.
I have COVID, 4 shots.
But this
Already.
one is for Omicron and COVID, so it targets both variants.
I'll think about it, and we'll see now if they have people getting sick.
Ontario's health minister says the shot is important with the start of the fall and winter respiratory illness season and is available at various primary care offices, immunization clinics, and pharmacies. Several people we spoke with are skeptical.
No, I don't think I will. I think I've had enough vaccinations.
No, I'm never getting from, no.
It will take some time before I get to know really what the vaccine is.
Today, the province is also opening appointments for the new pediatric vaccine from Pfizer, an alternative to Moderna's shot, which has been available since July. Toronto Public Health encourages everyone eligible to get their first and second doses and boosters as COVID-19 is expected to increase this fall.
Well, that was CTV's Beth McDonnell. A monument was unveiled in the township of Conmee this past weekend that pays tribute to fallen Canadian soldiers and police officers here in northwestern Ontario. Jessica Clement has more on that.
It was a day of remembrance and mourning for the township of Conmee and those who came out for the unveiling of the Memorial Pillar, which is located right outside of the Northwestern Ontario Military and Police Museum. One side of the monument commemorates the conflicts in which Canada participated, from the War of 1812 to the war in Afghanistan, while the other side honors the police officers of Northwestern Ontario who were killed in the line of duty. Bob Manns, owner of the museum, says it's important for people in Canada to remember the sacrifices that were made for freedom.
It's also important to realize what and to remember what police officers go through on a daily basis. I don't think the general public really has been able to grasp the idea that wives or husbands of those that serve as police officers, for instance, they may be going to work, but they may not be coming back. There's always that chance that that happens.
A second smaller monument was also erected to honor Bill Majborota, a World War II veteran whose dream was to start a military museum at the Royal Canadian Legion in Kakabeka Falls.
He was totally dedicated to it. Unfortunately, he passed away before he was able to finish it. So upon his passing, his wife wanted to know if this museum would like to take his stuff, so we did, and it's on display in there. And it's in his memory for all of what he's done.
In attendance of the unveiling was Chief of Thunder Bay Police Service Dan Taddeo, who says that the amount of work that Mans and his wife have put into honoring military veterans and police officers from the Northwest is very special.
One thing about Northwestern Ontario is there's not an abundance of population, so we heavily rely on partnerships. Thunder Bay Police Service and the OPP, along with Anishinaabe Police Service and Anishinaabeg Police Service, we have to rely on each other for a lot of resources and partnerships. We recognize the sacrifices that each of us make, but not so much as the sacrifices of those who've paid with their lives.
Scott Halati, Superintendent of the Ontario Provincial Police for the Northwest Region, was also in attendance for the unveiling, and he says it was an honor to be there.
It's an absolutely beautiful monument. There are many monuments throughout Canada, but having one in Northwestern Ontario that we can come and honor our veterans and our fallen police officers means a lot to us.
For anyone who would like to pay their respects at the monument, it's located at the Northwestern Ontario Military and Police Museum at 7 Hume Road West. Jessa Clement, TBT News.
An Every Child Matters flag was raised at Confederation College today to mark the start of the National Truth and Reconciliation Week. It's meant to honor the lost children and survivors of residential schools, as well as their families and communities. About 30 students and staff came out to the ceremony this morning, which included people speaking about their experiences and how we can learn from the past. Throughout the week, the college will host Truth and Reconciliation programming for students and staff. Brenda Small is the Vice President of the Nagano-Win Research Center. She says it's important to teach students about the residential school era here in Canada.
And certainly, as a learning institution, the more that we can do to incorporate an understanding and knowledge about this history in all of our curriculum, it's important that we do that, because then we will graduate citizens who are much more knowledgeable and aware of the history in Canada, and also can incorporate a degree of responsibility and accountability when they enter the workforce.
Starting tonight, a new 3-part docu-series called Great Lakes Untamed will debut on TV Ontario. A local cinematographer played a big part in the making of it, as a lot of the series focuses on Lake Superior. Avery McRae has the details.
This is the story of the largest watershed on the planet.
Never before has there been a production about the Great Lakes quite like this. The 3-part series, with each episode an hour in length, will share stories and tales from the 5 Great Lakes, with around 30% of the series to be focused on the grandest of the 5 bodies of water, Lake Superior. Local director Damien Gilbert, who provided much of the footage from the North Shores of Superior for the doc, has spent over 15 years in the industry and says this one hits close to home, and he feels anyone in the city will be able to relate to what they are viewing.
It's the greatest lake in the world, and they might, recognize some of the locations that are featured in this docuseries.
Gilbert said while shooting the series, which is 3 years in the making, he was able to experience many amazing sights the average person doesn't have access to, like being in the base of Wilmette Canyon and a unique view of one of the most famous attractions in our region.
So one particular location was Kakabeka Falls, and I got a really unique perspective of it flying with the drone, which we got permission to do, was to kind of start and then kind of go down into the gorge. So when you're seeing it from the platforms, you're not getting it from that perspective, and you might not even recognize it at first.
There was also some interesting discoveries made during shooting, none more so than these rocks that originate from Marathon, known as Uperlite, which glow a fiery orange when shined with a UV light.
Given GPS coordinates and try to find these things in the pitch dark and then shining lights and not finding anything, and all of a sudden this rock kind of started glowing, and it's like, wow, what is this?
The docuseries will air Monday night on TVO at 9 p.m. with episodes 2 and 3 to follow on Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Once all 3 live airings come to a close, all 3 episodes will be available to stream on TVO and YouTube. Avery McRae, TBT News.
Gasoline prices continue to spike in Thunder Bay. A few local gas stations are now nearly 50 cents higher than the Ontario average. It's unclear what's causing the price fluctuations, but some stations have raised their price at the pumps by almost 30 cents over the past few days. The Esso gas station on Arthur Street and Memorial Avenue and the Petro-Canada on Arthur Street have gone up to $1.96.9 per litre. Meanwhile, most other gas bars in the city are still sitting at $1.81.9. According to the website OntarioGasPrices.com, the provincial average only went up 3 cents in the past week and currently sits at just under $1.47 a litre.
That's quite a disparity. Of course, we're used to that here in northwestern Ontario. Well, Fiona, I'm going to have to get used to it, but I'm not there yet. Those highs of 11 as we see behind you.
Well, today was kind of an unusual day because the overnight low was 10, the high for the day was 11, and in the last hour, we've been back down to 9. So not a lot of movement in the temperatures and definitely below that normal of 15 Celsius for this time of year. So if you're not used to this, don't worry. You've got some time to ease into the cooler temperatures because this ain't normal, folks. Definitely not normal. Winds today were also a little bit blustery at times from the northwest, 14 to 38 kilometers per hour under a lot of cloud. The sunshine was definitely further to the west into Fort Frances today. They had glorious sunshine. They also had a much cooler night with temperatures dropping to 2 Celsius. So they earned those extra 10 degrees that they've accumulated at this hour at 12. 11 in Kenora, 8 in Dryden, 10 in Red Lake. They've seen increasing clouds throughout the afternoon. And then you can see the temperatures take a dip as you head further east. 7 in Sioux Lookout, 5 in Armstrong and Pickle Lake. Greenstone also at 5. They've had periods of light rain off and on today. Marathon currently at 9. And Sault Ste. Marie also dealing with a rain shower, but they've got much milder temperatures. Still not seasonal for this time of year. 13 Celsius is what they're experiencing right now. Now, in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we are going to slip perilously close to the freezing mark under a whole lot of cloud. Winds are hopefully going to be tapering off down to about 15 kilometers per hour, but there's still a chance we could have some gusty periods. And tomorrow is going to be equally cool. Here's the good news. There is some heat on the horizon, and I'll have more details on that later on in the news hour.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fiona. And of course, we'll take what we're getting here compared to what they've dealt with in Atlantic Canada in the aftermath of Hurricane Fiona. We know that at least one person has been killed after her home was literally washed out to sea. And of course, the damage is just devastating in parts of that region. We'll have all the details for you as your Monday News Hour continues.
Canadian Armed Forces have arrived to help remove debris from roadways and assist in the restoration of the power grid.